Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another cozy knitting and making podcast, whatever number of episode we are on. Today I don't have a lot of finished objects, but I do have quite a lot of whips and then also some sewing things that I've been working on. You can also find me on Patreon and Instagram. I'm Mipi the Label at both of those platforms. And then I also wanted to quickly mention what I'm wearing before I start off this knitting podcast. So first of all, I'm wearing a knitting pattern release. This is the Babette Bobble vest that I released actually yesterday, which is super exciting. It's an aran weight vest with a lot of bobbles, seed stitch, some crochet edges or details. You can also do it with I-cords, but I have instructions for both methods in the pattern. And then it has a v-neck in the front and I just absolutely adore this little vest. And I'm very happy that it's now released. You can get it for 25% off on Etsy. You don't need to use a code. Or you can get it for 20% off on Ravelry with the code HelloBabette. I will also put it on the screen. And I would love to see your makes. I think it's perfect for fall, especially in this like pumpkin orange color that I made it in. It's very cute. And then underneath I'm actually also wearing a me-made dress, which is the Skyline dress by Sid Graham. And then I actually made a really fun patchwork version, which you cannot really tell right now, you can just see the blue fabric, but it has a bunch of different fabrics and prints in there, so it's a really nice dress. And I have it layered with a wool turtleneck and it's feeling very fall and I love it and I'm here for it. So all of my makes actually also feel very fall and I'm definitely in a brown era right now, so be prepared to see a lot of brown. So the first finished object, and honestly the only one that really counts as a finished object, is my new pattern that is currently being test knitted. It's for a little accessory. So this is the Fiona Flower Collar. It has the exact same stitch pattern as my Fiona Flower headband, which is this center back detail, which is cabled and lace at the same time. In the headband there are floral embroideries, so you can do it, but you can also leave it plain. So the embroidery is optional, I just left it plain for now, I might add it one day. But it's a really fun little collar that you can layer with, so just to make things a little bit warmer underneath your coat. You can also make it longer if you wanted it to be like really long, for example for a deep v-neck coat. And you can also lengthen the collar to make it higher or cozier, whatever you want. And I especially love this front double knitted detail with these little snap buttons. It makes it very adjustable and versatile, and I just think it's a very cute detail. So I'm very happy with how this one turned out. As you can see, the stitch pattern is a combination of cables, lace, and then this like garter stitch detail, I could call it, I guess. And it's a European drop shoulder, which just means that you start by casting on the back stitches and then increase like this. So you have this diagonal line detail, which is always very neat. This is knit on 4.5mm needles with a really nice yarn that has a really nice drape and it's super soft. And it's the Concept by Katia Essential Alpaca yarn, and you really don't need a lot to make a collar like this, so it was a very fun project. And then the next finished object that I have that I said doesn't really count as a finished object because it's only halfway finished, which means it's a sock. And I've had this sock on my needles since May and I finally picked it back up because I was like, why is this still here? Like, this should be finished by now. So I did, and I finished it yesterday. I only had about like this much to do of the foot area and the toe. This is not really a pattern, but I do have like weird instructions about it on the Ravelry project page that I made for it. But it's super simple. It's just a like whatever number you usually cast on. You have to have a multiple of 2 for this picot edge and then a multiple of 4 for this pearl stitch texture thing that it has going on. And then for the heel flap and gusset and the toe decreases, I used the Folini Socks by Inner Skein because I really like the way that she did her toe decreases and the slip stitch heel. So I just used that for this sock and that's basically all there is to it. I do really love these socks. I think they're my favorite socks that I've made so far because the fit is really good and I just love the knitting experience of it, that it's like a texture but also mostly mindless, which I just find like the perfect combination for socks. I love all of those socks patterns that are like very intricate, beautiful lace and cables, and I do have some of them in my library, especially from Sari Nordland, but I just feel like it's not the first thing that I gravitate towards when I think of knitting a sock, but I do want to get on that someday. But I'm knitting it with drop snort in this beautiful brown colorway, and it's feeling very fall appropriate. So I want to finish these so I can wear them because it feels like a waste to have these. And I would also honestly like to knit some other socks because it's Socktober after all, so I should join in, even though I'm not really a sock knitter. So those were all of my finished objects, and now we can get started with all of my works in progress. I have about three active works in progress, and then one that's my blanket. So sometimes you will see it, sometimes you don't. It depends if I've worked on it or not, and for these past 3 weeks I have not. And then I've also decided to frog my Berlin scarf because it was in a boucle yarn and I just couldn't do it, so I frogged it. So you won't be seeing that one anymore. So here we have my first work in progress, which is also one of my own designs. This is also in a family of the Fiona Flower something. So this is the Fiona Flower Sweater, which is a really fun design. It is shaped with a lot of German short rows, so it's a drop shoulder construction, but as you can see, it does have a slanted shoulder, so it fits really nicely. Then it has that same kind of collar thing going on as the Fiona Flower Collar had, so it has double knitting, but I chose to do actual buttonhole, so it just gives it another like little nice detail, I feel like. And then I've also finished my first sleeve yesterday. So this pattern is actually ready for test knitting. I have put on a test knit call today, so that will also be linked in the bio and I would love to have you. It comes in 10 sizes as always, so an extra small to a 5XL. So I will show you the back, and here it has the Fiona Flower lace and cable thing with seed stitch, another cables, then lace next to it. And then it has that same cable motif with stitch stitch on the sleeves, like this. And then all of the ribbing is half twisted rib, which I really enjoy, and it's just a very cute sweater. This is also knit on 4.5mm needles, so it's for an approximately like a worsted weight yarn, but I actually used 2 yarns held together. So I knitted with Drops Alpaca held together with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. So this is the Drops Alpaca. It's a very beautiful sport weight yarn in this beautiful brown color. And then this is the Drops Brushed Alpaca that I kind of like to use as a heavier lace weight. You can also use it as a regular lace weight, but I do feel like this is a really nice combination. So far it has made the fabric like really nice and lightweight, and I've weighed this sweater this morning and it only weighs 300 grams right now, which I do think is very light for a sweater. I do have of course one sleeve left, but still that is very light, and just like the drape that it has is really beautiful. So I'm excited to have this one done and to get to wear it. Then my next work in progress is actually a little crochet project, which is really exciting. So I'm actually pattern testing a pattern for Bethany Lynn Makes, I think is her name on Instagram. And it's called the Agnes Sweater Vest. So it's a crochet sweater vest. And I've managed to make all of my crochet squares and kind of joined them together. So this is going to be my front panel. Very cute. And for the yarn I used the leftovers of my Babette Bobble vest, which is this rust color. Then the other one is just leftover fingering weight yarn that was hand dyed, I think. And then this is a special type of yarn by Katia. I think it's called something with a P. I don't know. So this is going to be the front. And then I've also joined together all of the squares for the back last night. So I don't know which one, like which way is up or down, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So this is what the back looks like. I'm loving all of these colors together. I think it's very cute. So now what is left to do is I need to join the front and the back here along the shoulders, so like this. And then I'm going to have another square that I've also already made, and that's going to be like on the side right here like this. And then it's going to have knitted borders on the hem, the armholes and the neckline. So there's still, I guess, quite a bit of work to do, but it does feel like I'm really close to the end for some reason. So yeah, I'm also happy to have this and to be testing it. I think it's a very fun experience. And then my final work in progress that I've actually been working on is going to be a new design. This is going to be for a raglan sweater, which I've never designed before, so it was a little bit like tricky to get started with it. But it's not going to be anything that's going to be done very soon. I think this is like the latest deadline that I have for this year, so I actually have 2 other patterns that I probably should be casting on and getting to instead of this one, because this is due in December. But I will show you. It's, yeah, not very much right now. It's just a little bit of a cast on, and I shaped it with short rows and I've already started doing the raglan increases. I do really like this yarn combination. It's kind of the same as the previous one that I just showed. It's Drops Flora held together with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. So it's a little bit of a lighter weight than the Fiona Flower range. So this is knit on 4mm needles, also because the Drops Flora is a fingering weight and not a sport weight. And it is making the fabric like really fluffy, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's what we're going with. Because the whole design is kind of intended to be used for mohair scraps because I found over the years with knitting that you tend to have a lot of like odd balls of mohair left. I don't know why that is, but it just happens. So I thought it would be really fun to design something that you can use those odd balls of mohair. And this is my little swatch that I made for that. It's going to be quite simple, like a striped jumper, but then with a tiny bit of texture. So I do have some garter rows in here. And then these are tiny little brown bubbles, which looks very cute, I do think. And it's kind of going to be inspired by a Regin sweater. So I will put the image in the screen if I can find it. Because I thought that was also really fun. Kind of what I'm going for, I guess. So you can imagine what this design is going to look like. I'm using a bunch of different colors. That is the Diablo mohair by Hobby Design. Because I got this on Vinted if you've seen my yarn stash video. So I thought this would be really nice to use it with. And I'm holding it double. So those were all of my knitting and crochet finished objects and whips. And then I do have something that I'm actually going to be casting on today. And I'm planning to make a little vlog about it. I want to knit my first pair of mittens and I thought it would be fun to make it a vlog and to use like a free drops pattern and just see how it is. So I'm going to be knitting it with this drops Nepal, which is a Aran weight yarn in this beautiful light blue color. Something a little bit different for me, but it's feeling right for some reason. I just like this color right now a lot, like sky blue or light blue, baby blue, whatever you want to call it. It's very cute. Yeah, the pattern that I want to knit is called the Holiday Touch, and yeah, it's knit with drops Nepal. Then it has a cable texture going on and I just think it's very beautiful. Very simple to knit, like I didn't want to do something that was like very extreme or very intricate. This just feels like not plain stockinette because we all know that I don't really enjoy that. But this, yeah, just feels right. And that's what I'm planning to cast on today. And I'm gonna have hopefully a fun time with that. And then I would also really love to cast on the Lumme Pullover by Sari Nordlund. I really want to knit it in like a brown with maybe like a cream or a pink for the contrasting color. I don't know, I just really feel brown lately. And also color work. Like color work is so much fun to knit, and then having the stockinette after that is actually very nice and just relaxing. So those are the two like things that I would love to cast on this week. So I hope to be able to do that. I do have, of course, two projects that I have to finish. But then I feel like I can cast on a bunch of new things, I think. And then I also have two sewing finished objects. The first one is a quilted wall hanging for fall, and I'm planning to do this every season, so this is the first one, and it's called the Pumpkin Runner by Carried Away Quilting. I got this pattern on Etsy, made a little vlog about it as well, and I think it's very cute with the little pumpkins. It just feels right now, and also as you can tell, I'm very in the pumpkin fall mood right now. So I'm sorry if you don't like that, but I'm maybe just like a fall and winter girl at heart. I don't think I really made any adjustments to this pattern, so I don't really know if I have anything particular to say about it. Only that it was really fun to make and that it's about the length, like I think like a meter, yeah, maybe a meter long. So it's not very big if you wanted to use it for a table, but I think for a wall hanging it's quite the perfect size. And I just thought it was very fun to make. I also don't think it's like super beginner friendly necessarily, because this pattern was probably one of the most intricate quilting patterns that I've ever done. But it was very fun and I did learn a lot from it. And the next finished object for sewing is a little bit random. So basically I saw a bag on Instagram and I thought it was very beautiful. And then I screenshotted it and thought I'm going to be making that bag. So I tried my best. I've never made a bag like this, so I will just show you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But it's a bag with leather and also with this Sherpa fabric. Then I completely lined it and then it has like a magnetic closure here, which is very cute, and then this little drawstring detail, so you can actually tighten it with this as well. So you can scrunch it up like this and then tie it in a little bow here. I know that the original pattern actually has, or like the original bag that I recreated this from, has two drawstrings, so they go in both directions, so you can actually like cinch them in like a normal bag like this. But I don't know why I did it like this. I do have enough fabric to create another drawstring, so I might do that, but I think this also works fine. Then I also used a lining fabric for bags so that it actually like stands up on its own like this, because I really like structured bags. I don't love a floppy bag, so I used a heavyweight lining like that for the faux leather that I used, and then one that's a little bit thinner for like the Sherpa fabric. And then I installed these golden grommets for the first time, which was also a very fun experience, although it was very hard to get through all of these layers, like all of the Sherpa fabrics, because I also lined it like that in the front. And then the actual lining of the bag is just a plain cotton block printed fabric. And it also has 4 pockets, as you can see. So that's really nice. So I really like to organize my things in my bag. So I don't like to have like my lip balm together with my keys. I like to be organized that way. So having a lot of pockets in my bags is essential, and I'm very happy. You know, if you're able to sew, then you can just create that yourself. And then lastly, I also did a bias binding around all of the edges on the inside and then hand stitched, because I didn't want to have any visible stitching on the outside. So there's no stitching here, but there is on the inside. And then we have these little things that you can attach a strap to, but I have not made a strap yet. So that's something that I still need to do, but for now I really like it. And then I also added these little golden things. And I still need to have some type of glue so that I can put this on the inside, if that makes sense. So that will be a really nice finishing touch. I love all of the little gold hardware, because I don't really like bags that have silver hardware, because I just tend to wear only gold jewelry. I don't really change out my jewelry. So this just feels right. And I'm actually thinking, and you can decide for me, if I'm going to make a YouTube tutorial for this, or if it's going to be a paid YouTube tutorial, like a Patreon exclusive video so that you can buy it, or if I'm going to make a sewing pattern for it. I have not decided, but please let me know what you prefer. I do think it's quite large right now, but it is a really good size for me to carry to work, so I can put my lunchbox in this, because I didn't really have a bag that actually fit my lunchbox, which was very annoying because then I'm always carrying 2 bags. But I also want to make a smaller version, something that is a little bit more handbag appropriate, because this does feel like quite massive, to be honest. Like for an everyday bag, I don't really need it to be this big. So I will be making another version, but just let me know how you would like the tutorial basically, or if I should even make a tutorial. Like, doesn't have to happen, of course. And then finally, these past 3 weeks, I've also finished reading 3 books. So the first one that I finished was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I did speak in my last podcast very dramatically about how I felt after reading those books, like the first 2 books after finishing those. And I think I was feeling very emotional in that podcast, so I'm sorry about that you had to endure that. And I did get some comments about people telling me to search for God, because he would give me purpose in life. And I don't need anyone to tell me that, just so you know. But thank you for trying. So I read that book. I think I rated it like 4 stars. It was not the best, it was also not the worst, that type of book. But then after that massive debacle, I really wanted to read some like mindless books. So I actually read Ready or Not, which was a fun book about a like accidental pregnancy, which maybe it's not my favorite, but it also wasn't the worst. I'm just gonna grab my Goodreads so I can actually see what I rated all of these books. So I actually rated it 3 stars because it didn't really blow me away, and then also the chemistry was a bit lacking for me. Oh yeah, and then I wrote something that was really funny to me, because then in the epilogue, the writer of the book actually has like the inspiration about this book, which was her husband. So she has a little story, and she said, "My husband would get out of bed to get me a glass of water. Can we all just reflect on the mental fortitude, the devotion, the selflessness that is required of that act?" And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever, because are we seriously going to applaud someone for getting you a glass of water? Like, is that how low the bar is set for men? I just thought it was very funny. Because this book does talk a lot about like being very caring and doing a lot of like acts of service for your significant other. But in the book it was mostly like the man doing that for the woman and not the other way around. Which there's nothing wrong with either one of those. But I just thought it was very funny that she said like, "Oh, my husband would get me a glass of water." Like, whoa. Yeah, I just thought that was funny. After that I read Bright from Ellie Hazelwood, which I really enjoyed. It was very, very strange, but it worked. And that's exactly how I wrote my review. So I rated it 4 stars and I said, it's weird, but it works. And that's all that I can say about that book, I guess. And then after that I read another very cutesy book. This was my first book by Sarah Adams. It was called The Match. And I really liked it. And it was very cute, wholesome. It had dogs in it and I thought those were really cute. Then also some chronic illness, which I thought was very nice and informative. It talked a lot about epilepsy, which is what the main character of the book was struggling with. And I thought it was very interesting because it's not really something that I know a lot about. Of course, it's still a fictional book, so it's not going to be super informative, but still I thought it was very interesting to read and I really enjoyed that. So those were all of my finished objects, whips, and then books that I've read these past 3 weeks. I know this was a little bit of a shorter episode, but I still hope you enjoyed nonetheless. Maybe I can do a knit and chat in the future one, because that would be fun and that will also make the video a little bit longer. For now, I do wish you enjoyed and I hope you all a very happy day, happy knitting, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!